So for the send me some info, how would Russell Brunson or Alex or Mosey handle that? I feel like the old school, what are you not interested in is kind of lame. I like the idea of like, yeah, definitely I can do that. And just so I send you the right stuff, what specifically would you like to find out? Like if you had a bullet point it, is it like because I just want to make sure that it's ultimately going to be worth your time. So if I could like bullet point one or two things for you, what would you want to know? Mm.
Morning.
Oh,
What you working on?
I don't have my audio. Uh, I don't ever see you in a hat, dude. You got a hat on today. It's wild.
The hair is wild.
Yeah, that's that's usually my primary reason for wearing a hat.
Um, yeah, I still got a decent, I gave away all my Vivid hats, but I somehow got a couple more in the process of exiting, and so I went scourging through it 2 days ago when we spontaneously decided to leave the house unplanned, and after that, I was like, I actually like this hat. It's not bad. I'll throw it on.
Yeah, it
What
looks
you,
good. Yeah, it works.
yeah, what you working on?
Actually, I'm putting together, bro. I'm so cracked out on using AI. I love it, but um, we're about to launch an outbound appointment setter like voice AI. So I'm building the script flow. Like so it's basically like a door pitch, like a door pitch, like a AI outbound door pitch. You want to see
Which,
it?
which will do like a phone call
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you real quick.
for what product?
Just for Taskaroo. So basically, what I have right here is let me close this up like this. Let me do this. Okay. So I'll close this, close this, close this, close this. Okay. So I have like my Claude is right here. Let me close this out and let me close this out. Okay. So Claude is right here. So you've probably heard of Claude before, right?
Hmm.
It's like
Yep.
ChatGPT. So
Yep.
we're using this in Antigravity, which Antigravity is Google's what they call IDE. It's just like how like you would type in text, but it's the same.
Yeah.
Like I don't pay anything for Claude's or for Google's tool. It's a free tool, but then I just pay for Claude, right? So I can have multiple sessions going on. And right now I have a session here and it's working on what's called a markdown file. Are you familiar with what a markdown file is?
No.
So they're like a new type of file that work really well for like LLMs. They're like super tiny in size, but they're like very descriptive. So essentially these are the same files. So what you see here is what you see over here on the right. So but this is how like the code writes it and like this is how we see it. So like there's little things like I can have a toggle right here and it's coded in right here. So, but this is obviously easier for me to look at. So I started out, I've had this session going for I've been working since like 5 this morning on this, 5:30 on this. And I basically am like, hey, this is my workflow. Actually, I'll show you. So I have this prompt skill that basically I have within ChatGPT, I have a project. Are you familiar with how projects work in
Yeah.
ChatGPT?
Yep.
Okay. So I have literally a project that's just called my prompt. So I literally use this, and the only thing it does is help me prompt engineer. So then the whole instruction here is you are a prompt architect for Claude Code and multi-agent systems. Your job is given a software project description that will provide at the end of this message, generate a complete production focused implementation prompt for Claude Code that uses a phrased approach, phase one, two, three, blah, 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 treats Claude as a full stack developer. So this is what you produce. So I've literally made it a prompt engineer to make like sick prompts for me, right? Like, here's my
Mm.
critical requirements. This is what I want. This is the implementation plan. And then once I do this, I, so that's what I do. And then it was here. So like it'll give me the prompt, and then once I have the prompt, then I'll go over here to Claude and I'll just paste the prompt in here
Sure.
and then have
Yeah.
it build for me, right? Sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually have in here, I have a prompt skill, so I'll say something like, "Hey, evaluate this prompt on a scale of 1 to 100. If it's not 100, tell me why it's not 100 and what recommendations you'd make it 100." And then it'll be like, "Oh, this is 88 out of 100. This is what I would do to make it 100 out of 100." And then I'll copy that response and I'll go back to ChatGPT and be like, "This is what my other agent said to make this 100. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with?" I basically get the AIs like competing with each other, right? And then they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a good idea, or this is overkill or whatever." And then once I get it to be like 100 out of 100, that's when I actually run it, right? So then I have the AI is hooked in with our CRM with Go High Level, and it automatically knows like what the tags are. So we have about 187,000 vendors in the state of Florida. I've got their business name, their Google rating, their Google reviews, and what industry that they're in. And we basically have an agent here like, "Hey, Alex from Taskaroo, their persona is friendly, efficient recruiter, blah, blah, blah." It's a persona. And then we have like the whole flow that we go through on this. Oh man, what happened to my okay, that's what I wanted. Yeah. So it's like, so it just goes through. So the opening is like, "Hey," if they answer with just hello or hey. And then if they answer with like, "Hey, it's Mike," or hey, if they answer with their company name. So AI does really well with like those boundaries, right? So we kind of handle each one of those boundaries. And then we set up like the value proposition, the qualification, and then a presentation. And then like the call to action, which is book a demo. And I'm just going through like the different objections right now. "I'm too busy. I already have enough work. What does it cost? Is this like Home Advisor thumbtack? Send me more info." And I basically use like a feel felt found with a takeaway and then a reclose. So yeah, totally know how you feel. John at ABC Plumbing felt the same way. What he found out was blah 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 blah. Takeaway, reclose. So now the whole track is there. So when the outbound phone call happens, the AI agent will essentially follow this track, collect the information that it needs.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty insane, right? And it can do literally thousands of these in a minute. Like there's no limit to how many. I mean, it's only limited by how many phone numbers that you have, and a phone number is, $1.99 a month or $2.99 a month. And then like the AI agent costs 3 cents a minute or 4 cents a minute or whatever it is. So you can literally reach out to 1,000 people for a few $100 and you have all of the responses in less than an hour.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So this will be my first time doing AI outbound phone calling. So I'm really interested to see how this works. And like I'll just go through it with you because I'd like your feedback on it if you want to
Yeah.
kind of see.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of go part by part on it. Can you see this okay? Are you happy with
No,
the way
I'm
that
gonna
this looks?
pull it up on my computer.
Okay. And so like I have it do like the rough and dirty and it gets you like 80% there. And then I just kind of go through each piece with a fine-tooth comb and think through it, right? That's kind of like AI is good at getting you 80% of the way there, but you can't fully like totally rely on it, right? So then there's this other website, bro, that's really sick. It's called Anna's Archives. So what Anna's Archives is um it's basically a library of all nonfiction books that you could download totally for free.
How
So
does that help you?
I'll show you. You're bro, get ready to be freaking blown out of the water because this is blows my mind, right? So like Dave Ramsey, like name the author, right? John Maxwell, right? So I can download any John Maxwell book, anything, right? And then what I do is I can load that into a knowledge base inside of Claude. So I have all of these books by these different authors. And then what I can do is I can create a skill by using my prompt that basically says, I want you to create a skill that will write in the writing style of if John Maxwell and Dave Ramsey had a baby, and here's three books from John Maxwell. Here's three books from Dave Ramsey. And I want you to create a unique vocal fingerprint of these two authors. And now I want you to then write this information within their writing style, and I now can pull from all their excerpts if I want them to like send quotes or like, we've always talked about writing that book like Why Goal Plan, right? So
Yeah.
like if we had their books in there, we could take all of our information and then basically say, hey, here's John Maxwell's books, here's Dave Ramsey's books, here's whatever authors that we like. I want you to go through our book that we've written and I want you to find supporting quotes from these authors to be able to support within our book at the appropriate times and present to me why you've picked them. Give me three options for each one. And then, bro, it'll like present us wherever we want quotes, however we want quotes from whatever sources we want. We could tell it to search the internet and it'll immediately bring it all up for us right there.
That's crazy.
Bro, I'm just getting started, dude. Like there's so many other things that are in here that are like insane, dude. So with our bookkeeping, this is a totally different thing, but with our bookkeeping offering, it's sick. First of all, like we've got I think around $22,000 of annual recurring revenue just within 30 days. And I'm like barely talking to people, right? So we have it now where we can ingest people's bank statements instantaneously, auto categorize them with like a 97% accuracy within minutes. But we like to personally review it. Matt's a bookkeeper, so we go through everything to make sure it's all compliant. And this is before tax strategy. This is before, we're just talking about like, just organization and categorization. And then we put it into charts for them. But when we have like weekly reviews, because we have all of the data, I have an agent that will review its last week, last month, and its entire quarter transactions. And then I'll have it write like a vocal report in my tone, like in my vocal tone. And then I have a skill that automatically takes that script, uploads it to HeyGen, creates a voice like me, like I'm reading it, or sorry, into 11 Labs to create a voice of it. And I'm working on later today my HeyGen avatar to make it look like I'm actually the one doing a video review of all of their finances for them. And then the part I haven't figured out yet is like the reporting side of it. But it's basically at a point where like we can have like AI self-gen the script, the audio, and the video and make a video based off of all their finances and do it on a weekly basis. Like, hey, Tim, you spent $9,472 last week and 49 cents. You spent it in this category, blah, 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 blah. And AI will do all of it. Besides right now, the screen record of our platform.
Wow.
So, bro, it's insane.
And people will be able to tell it's an AI version of you, but what you're kind of thinking is like that doesn't really even matter because really it's still more human and more like interesting feeling than
And kind of my thought actually is that we'll create avatars that are not me and we'll essentially introduce them as agents to the company where it's not related to me and people won't know whether they're AI or whether they're not AI because they're
sure.
just employees of the company, right? You're probably familiar with HeyGen. So I haven't built my avatar here yet. We just signed up, but we have my voice on 11 Labs, and my voice on 11 Labs sounds pretty decent.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. And that's all automated. Like, as this is being recorded right now, and I built a script, or I built and I say I built, like, you know me, I don't know how to code. I just told AI to do it. And I have a whole, so I'll show you here. I don't want to do that. Toggle agent. So overview for me, my Zoom workflow. So every time we have a Zoom meeting, when I hang up the Zoom meeting and I run this workflow, it zooms with my cloud and it downloads the recording. It downloads the video and it creates a transcript file, and it takes who's ever participated in this and it adds it to a JSON file. So, like, I'm building an ever growing list of contacts and their email addresses. And then I have a Goldilocks summary, which is basically taken from like Fireflies, which is whoever has this right here, James's Fireflies. It's basically a structure like that creates a Goldilocks summary, to do calls, action events, all that type of stuff. And it creates a summary of it, as well as a one-to-one transcript. And then it goes onto my Notion, and it creates tasks for me specifically on my Notion based out of calls to action from the meeting event. And then it goes to, oh, it renames it. It does some organization and some classification, like on my computer. Like, you can see here how it has this meeting right here that it organizes. And then it determines the path of where it wants to store it. It's going to move it around to the right place. And then it syncs it to Google Drive, and it updates my perpetual contacts, which I told you about. And then it provisions drive access. So whoever is on this call then gets access to this link right here. It does it all automatically. And then it sends everybody a summary file of what's happening. And then it cleans out my Zoom and it deletes the recording from Zoom. So that way I never run out of my Zoom cloud storage limit.
Wow.
And that's sick, bro. Like, just silly stuff, dude. Like, it's like, yeah.
So then the question I guess I have is like, to come up with that list of things to do, did you tell it I want it to do this, 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 or did you actually go to ChatGPT and say what would you recommend that it does, and then it even makes a recommendation list of
No, I mean, this was my brain mostly for the most
okay.
part, right? And then, like, yeah, I would go to chat and be like, hey, like, I would throw it to the prompt and I'd say, hey, create for me this. And then sometimes I'll tell it, like, ask me any questions if you're not clear on it. But I mean, this is all stuff that I kind of wanted
Sorry,
it to be able to do.
sorry if this is a stupid question. Is Claude also the place that the automations run from to access all these things? Is that also the platform? Like, where's the actual, like, okay, it's one thing to like have this list of things it does, but where's the actual, what's the platform that has the automation agents that's actually performing
Yeah.
the tasks
Yeah,
behind the
that's a
scenes?
good. Yeah, so Claude has something called skills. They're called Claude skills. And then Google, which runs Gemini, and they're what they call their Flash 3, Gemini Flash 3, that has what's called workflows. But essentially it's the same thing. And what it is it's a skill, right? So, like, this is the workflow right here. The 12-step process is part of its workflow, and it is ran by that agent, right? So Claude has Claude skills, and that's something that's Claude has within its own way of running it. And then Gemini has its workflows, and that has its own way of running it. So they kind of are independently their own thing. And this is why I prefer to use like Claude and Gemini on my computer versus ChatGPT, because ChatGPT doesn't have access to like a skill library. They have agents where they can kind of do some stuff like online and engage with websites more like on the front end if you've ever used the ChatGPT agents, but they don't really have like these scripts and these programs that they run like on your actual local device.
Got it. So workflows and skills are essentially the same thing. Claude,
Correct.
because I thought of Claude as a coding environment, but or it has that as well, and you're just using a one of the other things that it does.
So typically like Claude has an app, right? So I'm just opening it up and like this is how like if you downloaded Claude right now on your phone, like I have it on my phone, like you'd have an app just like a chat GPT, right? And then you have projects. So I have different projects in here, right? So here's my Brave Life. I can upload files to this. This is like what Claude started to do before ChatGPT is that they allowed you to be able to have like dynamic file references on here. And this is where markdown files become really powerful because, like again, let's say I don't know if I have a file here um, for Mighty Men, but let me see if I might have some right here. No, I don't think I have one for Mighty Men. But like if we really started to plan out what Mighty Men was, like what we have with Taskaroo, like I have all these reference files, right? So I now have like go to market files, research files. I have all this different context that now Claude can pull from all of this context to know like richly and in detail, not just like a casual memory like ChatGPT is like, oh yeah, you asked me about like how to cook steak the other week. Like we're talking about like in-depth files that it's able to recall and do research on, right? Yeah, so Claude has like this kind of interface for it, and then it has like instructions just like it too. But then when you use Claude, this is the same Claude, but it's what they would call Claude Code, same subscription, same everything, and it's just being used through anti-gravity or could be used through Cursor. And like I'm using the same Claude, but I'm just interfacing with it in a different way.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, I would love to start to understand how to utilize this. Because I guess the bridge that I don't really cross is it all makes sense how you're using it, and then I go in my world and I go, what would I use that for in what I do? I'm sure there's a lot of things, but it's just like not thinking of the possibilities of like what can be done, and then how we would utilize it to scale or, you know,
So like we have, yeah, like you just kind of have to kind of think about, there's a few there's a few ways. I'm going to try to see if I can do this. So like one day I had a ton of files. Okay. So like this day I did a bunch of work. This is something I built, right? So I built a tool called Session Files. And basically what I do is like when you work perpetually in here, it's hard for Claude to always keep specific context around what you're doing. Especially if you're trying to have like multiple conversations like within one experience. So instead, I did something called checkpoint and end sessions, which is a skill that I had to teach it, and I used the prompt to think it through thoroughly. But basically, what it does is it takes the entire context window of what we're doing and it creates a markdown file of that context window. So that way, if I ever wanted to go back to it at a later date or point in time, I would be able to go back and reference it. Or if I ran out of what they call the context window, because there's still only so much information that you can process through like one context window before it wants to compact the conversation, and then you start to get like hallucinations if you've ever heard of that before. So instead I make these checkpoints or these session files that then AI will go back and register off of that. So now my compact window is way bigger, I have way more room in it, but I have the full context of what I've been working on, right? So
mm,
here, like I literally built a skill that's a book to reference. So this day is I downloaded all these books, and it was Dave Ramsey's books, Smart Money, Smart Kids, Total Money Makeover Workbook. There's an accounting book I downloaded, No BS Marketing. So like let's just say you wanted to do, there's a lot of things that you have to think about, like different challenges that you're looking at in your business, like how do I look at this, right? There's a book out there called Super Better. which is about this lady. Do you ever heard of Super Better before?
No.
So Super Better is a, let me see if I can pull it up here. Super Better. So basically it's this lady had a brain injury, but she also loved video games. So she took the concepts of video games and she started bringing them into her real life. Like she started to realize that like when she took her dog for a walk, she felt better. So she'd do these little things and she would call them power ups. So now in her life, instead of Mario going to get a mushroom, she would go and walk her dog because that was like a power up, right? And then they talked about in here about how like kids and burn victims, like burn recovery is like one of the most painful recoveries. And it was saying how kids that wore a virtual reality set that had like a Hoth environment, right? Like ice, snow, that they experienced like something like 40 or 60% less experienced pain during like rebandaging and like wound cleaning during the recovery than kids who didn't have that, right? So it's just this concept of like these like gamification elements of life that now can be brought into here, right? But you could, as your context grows for what you're doing with your game or your game environment, you could be like, hey, how can we link this and this? Or like, hey, with whatnot, how can we do this and this? Or like, what are some unique ways, or based on what Mr. Beast does, and based on what this guy does, and based on what Mr. Thank You does, what are some like highly efficient ways to be able to grow our user base or to get them engaged or to be able to do this and this and this? And oftentimes it's not like the apex, but it's like a really great like thought generator, right? It's like a really great way to kind of like get ideas going, just like what Pastor Rodney does with music, right? Like that those music songs are kind of cool. Like I like some of them are better than others and they're very taste
Sure.
related. But if you're a musician, bro, that's a great way to just get a vibe, right? Just to get a feel, to get like a rhythm or to get like an exposure or an element of, ooh, I really like how this song does this. And it gives you the ability to pump out ideas like nonstop, right? So using AI is definitely a skill. It's definitely like you learn how to be able to do it. And the more you use it, the more that you realize what you can do with it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really
So
cool.
yeah, it's sick. It's cool. Yeah, so on this one right here to kind of go through this script with you, I'd love your feedback on it. Let me,
Sure.
so the opening, is it easier for me to read it to you or do you just want to read it?
You could read it.
Okay. So agent style. So basically, this is a completely cold call. We're calling home service vendors. So if they answer with, hey, hello, right? Like, hey, what's up?
Mm.
How's it going?
Yeah.
This is John's business, right? And if they answer with just their name, if they answer with their business name, if we don't have a name yet, and then once they confirm. So it's a couple different logic points right here. And then the value prop is right here. It's like, so Tasker is a really unique platform for homeowners and vendors like you to be connected instantly. So in a way, it's in a way where you get access to jobs without having to compete on lowball prices like Thumbtack or Angie, and you're not wasting time with like window shoppers or ghost leads. For homeowners, it's basically a Carfax for their home. They track maintenance, repairs, receipts, warranties, even their vendors, and everything happens in one place for them when they need work done, or even if the new owner needs work done and you've previously serviced the home, they request work right through the app. That's where you come in. So I want to add a transition right here, like just to kind of wrap up, just to wrap this thought up, dot, 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 add this here and the connecting it to them so that way it doesn't feel too long. So that I'll tell it what to do and it'll find this spot like right within inside here and then it'll update. Uh, no, this is not for the send me the info. This is for the value prop.
What are you using to dictate like that?
Whisper. This is probably my favorite app of this year. And it's on my phone and everything. Yeah. I think it tells me I've got 176,000 words I've dictated.
And it dictates into any app.
Any app, bro. You create a keyboard shortcut and then yeah, you just create a keyboard shortcut and it does it for you. So like I'll just hit two buttons as my keyboard shortcut, the two next to my space bar. Um so this is under the value prop. This is where I'm kind of
Yeah, I'm trying
changing
to just
con.
think. Okay, you're still
Yeah.
talking to it.
No, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it makes sense to ask like a hook question, or do you just go straight into what Taskaroo is?
So it has it right here. So it's like, hey, yeah, this is Alex from Taskaroo. I was looking at your Google profile and saw that you guys have pretty solid ratings. It looks like you guys have, and then we're pulling their Google rating stars with this many reviews. I'm working with a few other people in your industry because we have their industry in the Tampa area that seem to be well respected. But just to get to the point, Tasker is probably a new name to you, right? Yeah. What is it? Right. So that's kind of the transition. And then we go into the value prop. I apologize.
I feel like that question has a chance to lose someone there. Like if this was a real human, that second question actually isn't. Okay, I like the way that went before. Um,
I wanted to ask him a yes question, right? Like not something that's like no, right? So I wanted to ask him like a yes question to build momentum. So like, yeah, hey Tim, yeah, this is Alex from Tasker. I was looking at your Google profile and saw you guys have a pretty solid rating. It looks like you guys have like 4.5 stars out of like 120 something reviews. I'm working with a couple other people in the power washing space in the Tampa area that seem to be well respected. But just to kind of get to the point for you, Tasker is probably a new name for you, right? You haven't heard about it before?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of how that's
Got
designed to
it.
be handled. It would be something like that. And then it would be like, cool. So Tasker is a really unique platform for homeowners and vendors like
Will you be
you.
able to get analytics on when they drop off? Because I would just watch that one because I think you could just as easily finish with I'm working with a couple questions. We're working with a couple. You've kind of hooked them enough. Like in door to door, we don't have a question like that because that's a chance for them to like exit
Correct.
before they hear what we're doing. So you've done the hook. The hook is actually really good above, hey, we're working with a couple of these guys, you're this company, you're the homeowner here. Okay, we've been working with some of your friends, yada yada. Just so it makes sense, Vivint is the company, da 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 da. So that's the only thing that I think if you
The one thing
can,
that's
maybe
a little
two.
different, and let me just compete with you here a little bit to think through this. The one thing that's different is that I have no there's no visual cognizance here, right? So you're still having to break preoccupation and you don't know if they're doing something else, if they're even paying attention to you, right?
Sure.
So you kind of almost need to ask them something right here just to be able to be like, hey, are you with me? Right? Because if not, then you run the risk of pitching on something and you don't know if they're engaged, where if you're at their door you have that visual cue.
I
So
f-
it might be like, hey, do you have 20
yeah.
seconds? I can kind of give you the quick overview of what we're doing type of thing.
That could be good. I'm curious though on the phone because I feel like it's gonna actually weigh more less on what is being said and more on the casual nature of how you and like the things like where did you because the purpose of the part above it is like, hey, you are this company, you have this many reviews. That's gonna hook them, or at least if it can, it will. And then it's like I'm working with other guys similar. Um, yeah, what I would just say is maybe run a version that just doesn't have that in there and it goes straight into what it is, and a version that does, and then see if that one performs better over 1,000 calls, and then you have an idea of like whether you're losing them before you get into it or not. Um,
Sure. Yeah,
I, I do
I'm
I do
down.
think it's a good question. I think if I was going to do a question, that's a great question to do.
Which one would you do?
Um,
Like, hey, do you have 20 seconds I can kind of tell you? Or is it like, hey, just to kind of get to the point, this is a new name for you, right? Like you haven't heard
no,
this
I would
before. Is
do
that
the
right?
20 seconds. I actually like the 20 seconds better.
Yeah. So when I used to do telemarketing, that was my first sales job. That's kind of what we would say. It's like, hey, do you have like 60 seconds? I can give you a quick overview of what we're doing. Because it gets just a little bit of buy-in from that person at that point, right?
I
Like,
also think it's like
hey,
straight to business. You don't know the other question. If the person's like wanting to get off the phone and they're judging how long this is going to be to see the payoff, the second one indicates a feeling of urgency. So something like, hey, do you have, hey, I'll be super quick. Do you have 20 seconds? Or, whatever, whatever, like it indicates some like I'm getting down to business
correct,
versus
yeah.
the other one is like, hey,
You
have
don't
you heard of
know.
us? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right. Like I
yeah,
just want to hang out and talk. Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the transition, change the direct getting to business question and make it something like, but just to get to the point, um, do you have 20 seconds? I can give you a real quick overview of what we're working on. Um, so then it'll do, so there you go. So, but just to get to the point, you have 20 seconds. I can give you a real quick overview of what we're working on. Yeah, sure. Okay. So Tasker is a really unique platform for homeowners and vendors like you to be connected instantly in a way where you get access to jobs without having to compete on lowball prices like on Thumbtack or Angie's List, and you're not wasting time with window shoppers or ghost leads. So for homeowners, it's basically like a Carfax for their home. They track maintenance, repairs, receipts, warranties, even their vendors. Everything happens in one place for them when they need work done, or even if a new owner needs work done, and you've previously serviced that home, they request work right through the app. That's where you come in. And that's where I want to say. And so just to wrap up, comma, that's where you come in. If you provide a service that the homeowner is looking for, you get access to that job. And if you've serviced the house before, you get first dibs. So you're not just a one time lead, you become their go to guy. And because the homeowner is requesting work with a picture or a video of the problem, the work request tends to be more buyer ready. And then it's the qualifier. And then we go in here. So are you guys totally maxed out with work right now, or are you guys in growth mode?
Yeah, that's great.
So right? That's just kind of like, and at that point, either objections are going to come up or they're going to be like, no, I'm in growth mode, right? So if they're in growth mode, it's like, yeah, that's exactly who this is built for. And then we'll go to the present. And if they're like, we're maxed out, then it's like, okay, oh, awesome. Glad to hear it. That's a good problem to have, obviously. Hey, we work with a lot of vendors in a similar spot. And usually they're either looking to like sell and get out of the game, or they're just trying to build some systems so then they can scale without burning out. Which camp are you in? And then it's like basically what we're saying is like, hey, are you maxed out because your business isn't efficient at this point, or are you maxed out because you just are looking to scale out, right? And they're at that point either going to like want to get off the phone or they're going to kind of give you some information. So we have a little path, like if they're not interested. And ultimately, if they're like, hey, we're in scale growth mode, we're going to continue to present. And if they're in exit, we're actually going to mark them as like a hey, this person wants to exit because maybe we want to buy him in the future or something like that. So we'll mark that. And then we present. Any questions so far?
No, I like it. And the main thing would be just like, is there any fluff in that middle section that could be trimmed slightly?
This present right here in the qualification or in
No,
the
in the hey Taskaroo is so Taskaroo, yeah, two.
this part
There we
right
go.
here.
Uh,
I haven't defluffed yet. That was going to be like my
okay,
last step, right? Because I'm typically verbose.
yeah,
Uh right. So like going down and seeing if we can clear it out. But we can just
yeah.
do
There
that
was
right
just
now.
like when you because I I'm not I don't fully track the significance of what like when there's like a point where you have if you say too little, you're kind of missing out on a big part they might be thinking about when you say something else, and so you kind of need to touch that in it. And so, I just
I'm
wondered if
really
you could
looking
have
for
cut.
like the Goldilocks length here in this value prop. Like we want to give them enough information that they're, biting on the bait on the hook, but we don't want to give them too much information where they become overwhelmed. Based on best practices, what do you think about this value prop? Should we shorten it? Should we lengthen it? Do you feel like it's just the right bit? What do you think somebody like Russell Brunson or Alex or Mosey would do or say? So now typically like what I would do is I would then go down to this while this thing's cooking over here. Like I would continue reading and then go back. But here it says, so let me analyze current state, paragraph one. So it's so at 50, 150 words per minute at 65 seconds, not 20 seconds, which is not a problem. The 20 seconds versus 65 seconds is not really inherently a problem. The idea that we're looking to convey there is that we're really just going to be quick with them. With that being said, I don't want to over explain. So this would be, I think something around 40 seconds would probably be fine. So then it came back. It's like, so Tasker connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie, you're not competing for price or chasing ghost leads. Homeowners request work through the app with a picture of the problem. And if you service that house before, you get first dibs to become their go-to guy. That's always like the balance, right? Like, is that too little?
Just that one paragraph and nothing else.
That's yeah. I mean, that's what it cut it down to. That's a third of it, right? So I have 162 words. This is 40 words.
I was
So
going
this
to
is a quarter
say
of it.
I followed you well through the first piece, and then I started immediately when you went into the second one. There was a part of me that felt like I'm like, is this already too long? Or is there info we're about to get here that is absolutely needed? The length of that first one, where you hit like just the main proposition and then right into another question. So are you like in growth mode or whatever, could be really effective, I think.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So instead, let's do the first question within the value prop, which is the matter of fact informative that ends in ghost leads. And then let's do the qualifying question right in there. So, like, are you guys totally maxed out right now, or are you guys in growth mode? And that gives us an opportunity to handle some of the other elements at a later point if we need to. It's maybe looking at doing another version of it, which it just did. See, I think like this is it. I don't like this, right? So the red is what it was, the green is what it wants to replace it with. So Taskaroo is a really unique platform for homeowners and vendors like you to be connected instantly in a way where you get access to jobs without having to compete on lowball prices, like Thumbtack or Angie's. So that way you're not wasting time with window shoppers. I think that that's valuable to them, right? Like to be connected instantly where you get access to jobs without having to compete for lowball. Like I feel like that hits a big pain point for people, right? So to take that out, I don't necessarily like. And then you're replacing it with so Tasker connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie, you're not competing on price or chasing ghost leads. I don't know. It just makes me feel a little wanting. What do you think?
From a person who doesn't know this that well, it is saying to me the same thing. It doesn't say it as well, but the question is just like, how much does that matter? Um,
All right, let's I gave you the original copy that's there, and maybe we just break up the value prop with a quick qualifying question before we go into it, because when we go into present, then that's where we can go into a little bit more detail on these things. So let me go into the presentation portion of it, and then we can go back and see what maybe makes sense about the value proposition part of it. Um, So think about it from the homeowner side. So most people have no record of the work that's been on their the work that's been done on their home. Even when they paid for it themselves, they lose receipts or they forget when it was last serviced and they can't remember who did what. There's like no paper trail for their house like their Carfax for their home. That makes sense, right? So Taskaroo gives homeowners a place to track all of that, every repair, every service call, receipt, warranty, and every vendor that they've ever used. It's like Carfax for their home. So why that matters to you is two reasons. So one is when a homeowner sells a house that you've been servicing for years, that documented history actually increases their home's value. But more importantly, the new homeowner has direct access to you. So you're not losing customers every time a house sells, you're keeping them and there's less attrition for your business. And then, second, when a homeowner needs work done, they're not Googling random contractors, they're requesting it directly through the app. And if you've serviced that house before, you get first dibs and you're already their guy. And there's a feature that vendors really like where homeowners can search for vendors based on who their friends and neighbors use. So if you've been working on John's house for years and his neighbor Mark needs the same type of work that you've done, you're going to show up as one of the top recommendations for Mark. Does that make sense? Now, just to wrap up here, let me explain to you how we make money. And then I go into like how we make money because I think at this point, like people are going to have questions around like, okay, well, what's it going to cost me type of deal. So I want to transition out. What are your thoughts so far?
I think that I didn't realize that your value prop wasn't the entire pitch. The second you went into the growth path, or you in growth mode, I thought you were starting to close, and so all of this feels too long to me. Like I'm trying to imagine myself sitting on the phone, just listening to this now, and I just think I would have already exited, and you maybe had me, but you might have lost me now because of how long it's taking. If you caught me at a bad time, right? So, because that's the other thing, like when you catch them on the phone, they might be interested,
Mm-hmm.
but they might be busy. And so then they don't have. This is definitely, I feel like this is going to, like, you should look at how long the whole thing is. It feels like this takes a while. So, I mean, to me,
What do you feel
you
like the
do a
appropriate
hook
length of the whole phone call should be, do you think?
2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. To create a memorable experience, because the call to action from this is to like hop on a demo call, to like schedule a demo.
Yeah, and which is not that big of a deal. It's like if you want to know more and see the platform, we're scheduling demos with businesses like
Sure.
you. These are availability. I what's interesting here is this is what I would do. I would do this version, and then I would do an extreme cut down version that actually tries to close in like 45 seconds with just less than you think you need, and then you just run them in parallel and you do 1,000 of each and you just see which one gets you more calls booked. Like that's really what I would do. And I would do the two ends of the spectrum because that's going to help you understand. I've been doing that in my pitching because I think to myself, okay, I need to ask 100 grand of this guy, 200,000, 300,000. So then I've got all these details that I would want to know if I'm going to give him that much money. The problem is I realized more recently they're closed based on factors that, like, I think of all the reasons everybody would want to do it. And then the person in my head that I'm pitching is like me with every objection, or not even like me. It's all objections in the same person. But the truth is that most people just having a platform that gives them more leads and they get first dib repeat customers and it's another lead source that might alone be enough to get them on the demo, and then and maybe not, I guess I don't know the industry well enough to know where the sticking point is, but yeah, it feels like you could give you definitely I like the one paragraph synopsis, and then the question, are you still in growth mode or whatever, because I think that it helps the impact of what you've just said. So that part's important, and I wouldn't shorten that. I would make sure that is really dialed in, because it feels like that's the most important part of this whole thing is like you do your intro, and then we're working with a couple other businesses that could even maybe be shortened a little bit. You've got these reviews, whatever, and then it's like, So task guru is that next paragraph. We base like in a
Taskaroo connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, you're not competing for price or chasing ghost leads.
yeah, and so like that just needs to be impactful and easy to understand when you've caught someone on the phone and they're starting to like, because I have a feeling this is what's going to happen. The person's going to get on the phone, they're going to hear this voice, and at first they're going to be like half paying attention. Like really what
Correct.
they're
Yeah.
doing is they're going to be in the mode of can I hang up or do I need to listen to this? That's where you're going to start with most people. And then they're going to say to themselves, if I can, so you're looking to keep them on until you get them with something that sinks them in deeper. And that moment is like the reviews, but you need to make sure that's really efficient too, so that that doesn't take much time. Because really what's going to keep them, in my opinion, is the value prop. It's because really once you've hooked them with some interest, you've bought yourself another 10 or 12 seconds. Like I think there's gonna be people gonna be like, well, wait, they really know me. Like that's what you're accomplishing. They know me and they know other people. It's a little bit of a trust thing or an intrigue thing. The same way we used the name when we knock doors, and obviously the referrals, but the referral in this case is probably less impactful. And then really where the rubber's going to meet the road is however long. It doesn't have to be shortened that much, but whatever Taskaroo that's your real, like, do they stay on or not. So I definitely think you could put more love into that one. Like if you like the one where you use the more normal language, of you don't have to compete over low ball offers and you really hit that pain point, I actually think that's a place to not shrink unnecessarily. I think that paragraph is your moneymaker. And then after that, it's like, so are you maxed out on business or still in growth mode? Okay, or or you try to pull the entire presentation into the value prop and you do a three. There's two ways you could do it. You could break it up with a question. I think that's interesting. I do worry that a question too early makes them feel like you're going in for the close and they still want more info. So, because asking like, are you still in
Like
growth
you
mode
can
is
we
leading into a close.
we can kind of like qualify that out a little bit. Like I think I have it in one of the other ones like, hey, and just to make sure that this is even relevant for us or for you, are you guys totally maxed out right now with work? Are you guys in growth mode? Are you guys streamlining your organization? Or like what's the reader's digest version of where you're at right now? Right? Just to get a little feedback out of them.
Yeah. The way it's so interesting pitching styles. The way I pitched was let me keep them hooked with the way I use my voice and the way and the speed and just give them less chances to back out. I try to get as much out in front of them to hook them before I ask a question that could be an exit point for them. Versus, because again, what comes with a question
Yeah. Is
is
that off
is
ramp?
like what even comes with the question is just like how long is this going to freaking take, like, and
Yep.
so like so it feels like you want the main highlights. It, to me, the value prop is your pitch, to be honest. I just don't see a compelling reason to have them be separate. I think you just you've highlighted what it is, and then in two more paragraphs you kind of you try to hit the differentiation of the product and why it matters. I get the let's see it from, and here's my last question. What matters to this person? If you're on the other side of the phone, yes, it's unique to know that the Carfax thing, does that matter? Really, what's your number one thing? If you're on the other side of the phone, your number one client who's coming to you probably wants, I guess because it's a demo, you're not a lead service, so you're not just pitching
Here,
leads.
yeah,
You're
and
pitching, Yeah.
Here's the other thing is like right now where the product is, it's actually more of like a job management tool right now, right? So like when people actually
Mm.
get in, we don't even have the marketplace available right now, but the reality is that's the sex appeal, right? That's the curb appeal. Like where we're at right now is people can create contacts, they can create jobs, they can create quotes, they can create events, and we provide for them a banking service, right? So they can have routing numbers, account numbers, debit cards, they have instant payouts, right? Like right now, if they get an instant payout through Stripe, they have to pay up to 3% to get the money the same day. We have free instant payouts. This is our revenue generator too. So we really want people like on this element. But right now, it's like, hey, if I wanted to come in here, I can add, Timothy, Yusta, and then you're going to be whatever, 3612. What do you, East Park Circle?
1316.
1316 East, so East Park Circle. So, right, and now I'm creating you. So and then this is going to be a house. So now that as a vendor, like this is what I'm able to do, right? And then I can convert this to a job. Now I have you as a job. I can open you up and I can say, hey, what do we want to do right here? Okay, the job. Okay, he wants to have his electric inspection, right? You just ran out of power the other day. So now this is I don't have my electricity. Oh, I got to add a service, so I do electrical work. So I do all of that. So this is what the team, this is what the platform does right now. And then, okay, cool. I go over your house. So now I can give you a quote, right? So it adds this. So this is really what the platform is doing right now, right? It's a job management tool, but we're kind of like baiting them in with the marketplace. And then this is where we're at right now. And then as the network builds, like you're going to be able to harvest business off of everybody else's customer base that's in here. As the marketplace releases, this is where you're going to get access. You're already going to have a profile, you're already going to have work that's done on here that people are going to validate work that you've done, stuff like that.
Got it. So, yeah, okay. So then, I mean, I think, and then is the customer side ready?
Meh, like it allows you to be able to like accept quotes, reject quotes, right? So like yes,
So
it's enough
I guess the
where
question is just how much do you want to put in the pitch that's not actually able to be live? Because you may want to just like be getting people on the phone with the idea that they can kind of like have better like management with the ability to get to leads. Like the yeah, because the other
yeah, I
worry
think
would be that you actually like you unnecessarily complicate the call and with stuff that doesn't even exist really in its current form.
yeah, and I think the idea is that like, I kind of wanted to bait them in a little bit with like where we're going and
Oh,
then
yeah, for
draw it
sure.
back to like where we're
Yeah.
at right now, right? So I don't want to be wasting my time on people that are like, oh, I thought this was a marketplace and I thought I'm getting leads, and you're like, yeah, it is, it's just not today, right? Um, so like, yeah, I kind of want to like, I think, you know, kind of the two schools of thoughts is like, do you want to lead with that and then kind of close with where you're at? Or do you want to like start with where you're at and then tease them at the end on where the marketplace was? And I felt like because this is totally cold, we kind of lead with the leads in the marketplace because that's what's going to break their preoccupation. And then we kind of close with like where we're at. This is what we do type of thing.
I definitely think that the right thing to do is to lead with where you're going and then show where you're at. So I think you're doing it the right way. I don't have a context for how much of what you're leading with is the focal point, like that doesn't exist. Like it doesn't exist in the form in which you're pitching it. Uh, and then how long away they are. Like, what's the gap between what they heard on the call and got excited about? Specifics. I think it gets a little tricky when you give real specifics, examples, and then none of that's possible right now. And then
Yeah,
you're almost
sure. That
better
makes
off
sense.
hinting at something, but being able to back off of it when you're like, oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're not that far from that. And here's what it's going to do in the next iteration.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it make a skinny version of it. So now the value prop is shorter. And then we go right to booking and then handling objections. Yeah, I think I like this. I like this better because, and the one thing that's different here, it's like, hey, is that I said, hey, do you have 20 seconds? I can give you a quick overview, right? And then if they're going to say yes at that point, I don't mind that. I like that question, especially because I feel like we're able to build a good amount of trust by
Yeah.
telling them what their Google ratings are and their Google reviews are.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big differentiator. And then it's
Yes.
like, hey, do you have 20 seconds quick? I'll just give you a quick overview of what we're working on and we can find out if it's relevant. Sure, bro, go. Here's 20 seconds. Okay, cool. So Task.ru connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, where you're competing on price or chasing ghost leads, we're not selling you these leads. Where we're different is, okay, let me see here. So Task.ru connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, you're not competing on price or chasing ghost leads, and we're not selling you leads. Uh, what we're doing different, I think that's a good point to say what we're doing different. What we've done that's different is we've created Carfax, but for homes. So what we've done that's different is we've created Carfax for homes. Homeowners track their repairs, receipts, warranties, and vendors all in one place. And the reason that's important to you is when they need work done, they request it through the app. If you've serviced that home in the past, you get first dib. If the house sells, the new owner sees you on their history. And if their neighbors are looking for a similar vendor in the area, you're going to come up as a top recommendation. That's pretty powerful. That's pretty good, right? So let me read that to you again. Tell me what you think. So okay. So hey, yeah, it's Alex from Taskaroo. Hey, I was looking at your Google profile. So you guys have pretty solid ratings. Looks like 4.5 stars with like 130 reviews. I'm working with a few other people with a few other power washing companies in Tampa, and you guys seem like you guys might align. But just to get to the point, do you have 20 seconds, real quick? I can give you an overview of Taskaroo and what we're working on, and then yeah, no, whatever, sure. Okay, so Taskaroo connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, you're not competing on price or chasing ghost leads, and we're not selling you leads either. What we've done that's different is we've created a Carfax, but for homes. So homeowners track repairs, receipts, warranties, and their vendors all in one place. And the reason that's important to you is that when they need work done, they request it through the app instead of just Google searching. Maybe we should say, well, they request it through the app. If you've serviced that home in the past, you get first dibs. The new owner sees you on their history, and if their neighbors are looking for similar vendors in the area, you're going to come up as a top recommendation. And we don't charge for leads. Our revenue model comes from banking services like Chase. Right now, we're in beta, focus on Tampa, and we're giving out platform grants, so there's no cost to you. Are you guys totally maxed out right now with work, or are you guys in growth mode? Do you like that better?
I like it a lot. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's a way to cut down or break up that middle section. It's long and
It's a little
but it's
chunky.
it's it's good. I mean, I like the
Yeah. Well, so here, let me do this again. So here's the hook. So Taskaroo connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, you're not competing on price or chasing ghost leads, and we're not selling you leads either. I think we need to throw that out there because that's a big, that'll be their wall, right? Oh, you're just here to sell me leads. What we've done that's different is we've created a Carfax, but for home. So,
Is
homeowners
it does it work? Is it worth saying we created a platform that's like that for or
is created a platform
because
that's
ultimately
like,
you're orient does I don't know if it matters. I'm more so asking the
uh,
question like yeah does like indicating that this is a platform that they use to where
I think it's I think it we're not describing that anywhere else, so I think to add that in there so is not hard. So what we've done that's different is we've created a platform that's like Carfax but for homes. So homeowners, like we could kind of like we could say here homeowners, I mean I guess they don't need to be told that that's their customers. So homeowners track vendors, receipts and warranties, track repairs, receipts, warranties and their vendors all in one place. And the reason that that's important to you is I could do something like for two reasons. And the reason that's important to you is for two reasons. Because I think if you say that there, like two reasons or three reasons,
yeah
it gives you an opportunity to like one, two, three, right? They know that
yeah
it's not going to go on forever, right? So let's just say three reasons. So three is one is um instead of and then we could do something like instead of you paying Google for leads when homeowners need work done, they request it through the app. Two, if you've serviced the home in the past, you get dibs, even if it was sold to a new owner. That's cool. Three, three. And if neighbors are looking for similar vendors in the area, you're going to come up as a top recommendation. I think that's pretty good.
yes
So what we've done that's
I
different is
like
we've
that
created
flow a lot
a,
better.
a platform that's like Carfax, but for homes. So homeowners track repairs, receipts, warranties, and all their vendors all in one place. And the reason that's important to you is for three reasons. One,
I would
instead,
look at those top two sentences as one thing.
yeah,
So yeah, so like
yeah,
what yeah, this part yeah. So
yeah.
it's a follow on yeah exactly.
hmm And why that's important to you is for three reasons. So one, instead of you paying instead of you paying Google for leads, when homeowners need work done, they request it for free through the app. Two, if you've serviced that home in the past before, you get first dibs, even if it was sold to a new owner. Three, if your customers' neighbors, your, if anyone's neighbors, if your customers' neighbors, if your clients' neighbors, what should that say there? If your customers' neighbors get a better flow. All right, let's see what it does here. First, instead of you paying Google for leads when homeowners need work done, they request it for free through the app. Second, if you've serviced that home in the past, you get first dibs, even if the home is sold to a new owner. Third, if one of your customers refers a neighbor who's looking for similar work, you come up. The difference is that it's not if a customer refers a neighbor, it's that because we have geolocation, we're able to automatically recommend that vendor to a neighbor. So we need to say that really simple without overcomplicating it.
Like if you did work, if you third, um, you third, you know, by doing
When a neighbor in an area
the
in
more
that
or the
area
more work
needs
you do in
similar
an
work.
area, the more you become the um,
So it came here, it said third, when a neighbor in that area needs similar work, you automatically come up as a top recommendation.
yeah
Right? That's fine?
yeah that's good yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so Task-Root connects. So just kind of the value prop here to tie it through. So Task-Root connects homeowners and vendors like you, but unlike Thumbtack or Angie's, you're not competing on price or chasing ghost leads, and we're not selling you leads either. What we've done that's different is we've created a platform that's like Carfax, but for homes. Homeowners track repairs, receipts, warranties, and their vendors all in one place. And why that's important to you is for three reasons. First, instead of you paying Google for leads when homeowners need work done, they request it for free through the app. Second, if you've serviced that home in the past, you get first dibs, even if it was sold to a new owner. Third, when a neighbor in that area needs similar work, you automatically come up as a top recommendation.
Yeah, that's great.
And we don't charge for leads. Our revenue comes from banking services like Chase. Right now, we're in beta focused on Tampa, and we're giving out platform grants for vendors that qualify. So if it's a good fit, I don't have this in there. I might want to adjust this. I don't know how you'd say this, but we don't charge for leads. Our revenue comes from banking services like
You'd even
Chase.
say, and again, we don't charge for leads because you've said it, but you want
Yeah,
like them to hear that again. Like,
yeah.
and again, we do not charge for leads.
And
Our
again,
revenue
we
comes from banking
yeah.
services.
Charge our revenue comes from banking services like Chase. So then how would you do the little bit of the scarcity, right? So right now we're in beta focus on like typically on the doors you'd say something like the tough part about my job is that we're limited on the
Yeah.
people we can do this for, right? So like the tough I could do something like that here. Like the tough part about my job is that we're in beta, only focus on Tampa, and we have a limited amount of platform grants that
Yeah,
we
I
can
would
give
say
out.
that I would kind of bring it into like you could use a term like preferred vendor list or whatever. So it's like something like in the vein of like, we're just entering beta and we're starting with a couple vendors that we're starting with a couple of we're starting with the top rated vendors. We're reaching, we're picking or selecting or working with a couple of the top rated vendors um, for our to begin our like preferred vendor list program. I think that's enough. Something like that indicates that there's a chance to get on like the preferred list, which is what you're saying anyway. They'll have a record of stuff that already be ranked at the top. So you can kind of deliver on that without there being an official list called the preferred vendors list. And it is kind of the value prop of getting started early, right? When you go to close on the actual like Zoom call, I'm guessing part of what you do is you close on all the reasons they benefit, but then you probably push them over the edge with like, yeah, and by being early, you establish yourself, and so you get kind of that like you automatically have the best book of work on the platform, meaning that you're a top result over
Correct.
anyone else
Yeah.
that comes
And
on.
and we're
Yeah.
doing something called reviews, like instead of reviews, we're doing reviews. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's basically a feature that validates that work was actually done. So unlike Google, where people can have anyone in the world leave them a review, reviews is specifically tied to quoted jobs or finished
Yeah.
jobs on the platform.
Yeah, I
Right.
love it.
So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that better too. I think that's a way better flow right there. I think I still I need to like slim down like some of these objection handling too, right here,
Yeah, I
right?
think just
So
just think that like everything needs to go shorter because you're on the phone and you just have such limited
yeah.
space and time. What's up, big boy? Hey, hi. You
Look
eating
at
your
that
hand?
Samuel.
You eating your
Look at
hand?
that guy.
He sits here and he eats his hand or the microphone. Yeah, he was talking on Sunday all loud from the front row. Good morning. Good morning. What you been doing this morning? You sleeping in, little sleepy guy? Or was mom sleeping in?
Mhm.
Hey. Yeah, that's good. That's just cool, Troy. I like it.
Yep. Cool. Awesome, bro. Thanks so much. Yeah, it was a big help. I've been cranking on this for a little while. So
Yeah, if you ever get a free moment to take a break, think about my business model. Everything from like, I guess, be creating online ads and videos to, I guess, just any kind of. I was thinking like maybe reaching like a way to reach out to send an automated email flow out to every influencer that streams games like ours? Like just anything that comes to mind that would be worth learning.
So what we did this, so I guess it's also so we I used to do a process called ESATI, so eliminate, streamline, automate, delegate, and then iterate. And the problem is nobody remembers what that is. So
Right.
we picked the word ascend instead, and that's assess, simplify, centralize, elevate, navigate, delegate. And even if you didn't remember what all those were, you remember the word ascend, right? So I think it really just comes down to like assessing right now. It's like, hey, what are, there's a lot of different areas of your business that are being worked on. Like, what is the thing that's, they call it like time to first value, right? TTFE. Like, what is the one thing that we could do really quickly that's going to make the biggest
Mhm.
difference in how your operation runs, right? So that I don't know. I would just ask you, it's like, hey, present to me like three or four of like the biggest things that you like don't like doing, don't like spending your time on, don't know how to do or whatever. But yeah, like um harvesting leads per se. So like just as an idea,
Yeah, there's like I'm thinking along the lines of two things. Obviously, there's like any internal flow, even just doing a call with Justin on like what they're already doing with AI on the art side, and then seeing if there's like a way that like some like internal flows in the company, because that's the one thing that we're doing a lot of, right? Is we're just producing a ton of art, right? So it's like what could be done on the art side. There's probably also like internal flows for some of the busy work that like the girl who tracks everything does, and like when this gets uploaded, then this triggers, and then this triggers, and I'm sure there's some of that that could
oh,
be
that
built.
for
But
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
and then but the so the art one is an interesting one for internal, because we'll produce thousands of cards over the next few years, and so it's like and there's multiple elements to everything, and then there's that's internal, and then external is more experimental. But I like this outreach way you're doing it. I think there's a world where we want to like get our product out in front of everyone that's in the card collecting space and somehow find a way to do that right with marketing. And maybe that's like calling local LGSs, and like and I've been praying, and I was feeling that there's like something in the direction of getting local card stores involved with our digital card game in a way. And I haven't figured out the connection point then, but once I have
I
that,
I know a guy who like we were acquaintances growing up in my home store in my hometown in New Jersey that has a card store if you wanted to like talk to I mean you probably know people too, but
I do, but I would definitely love to talk to him. So if you want to make an intro, that would be great.
it, Eric.
Just because I'm also a collector, and if he's still in the business, I would love to. I've been buying One Piece cards the last 2 weeks.
I forget Eric. Eric something is his name.
How you doing, Sammy? What you been up to this morning?
Eric Miller. Eric Miller. Eric Miller, Vernon, New Jersey Card Studio. I got to run here in a second.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, Sam. This has been
Uh,
fun. I'm glad we got on and chilled. No one else joined us. Um, yeah, I
I
like
think
it.
this is the card guy.
Oh, bless you. You got such a cute little smile when you smile.
It's not that guy. Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find him. But like, he's had like some pretty legit people like show up at his
Shop.
shop, you know, like cool people, you know.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, let me know if you find him. I'm gonna set up this Whisper AI thing, and then
Oh, let me send you my link so that way we get I get a free month out of it. Yeah, this is the guy right here. He, and he has I don't know any of these people right here, but he's got a card shop in New Jersey, you know.
yeah, yeah, I'd love to talk to him.
Well, that guy's famous. I know that guy. Steve Urkel's one of another guy's Sting. He there was a band in the 90s called the Misfits. I don't know if you ever heard of them or not, but they were actually from our hometown.
Well, that's
They were a
cool.
pretty big deal. Okay, cool. Chat soon, bro.
All right, later.
All right, later.
See you. Bye.